So, good morning and welcome to this. I am working on a second book called Unwrapping Even More Passion.
Mm.
And your name came across somehow. And as you and I know, there are no accidents in life.
Yeah.
But I guess we're meant to cross our paths. So, just to start, tell me a little bit about yourself, something that I wouldn't normally find on the internet.
Wow. I'm pretty open book.
Gonna dive in.
Well, I started my journey as a young man. Most people don't know this unless they dig deep into my past, as a licensed Baptist minister at the age of 17. And, that was kind of the beginning of my spiritual walk, I guess. I thought that's what I was going to do. I went to college. I studied Hebrew and Greek and studied the Bible backwards and forwards, and then woke up one day and realized that this is not what I want to do. But that, when people ask me, when did it start? When did your journey start? I have to go back to 17, when I had such a really deep connection to source, a deep connection to the creator, and felt, at least at that point, being naive as I was, that was the path that I was going to take. So that kind of starts out my story in the little town of Midlothian, Texas. And, throughout life, going through life's turns and ups and downs and tragedies. And, I never really lost sight of that connection that I had, that deep learning of values, that deep, learning of how to be a good human being, right? If there's anything that I learned, it was how do I live life coming from kindness rather than from not being kind. I mean, and even though I don't know that I've always have been kind, I can say that I always had a barometer to measure by. So that kind of, that time frame, was a good time for me now that I look back, because it set a foundation for me. And so I guess I've always been on a spiritual quest, to find what my passion was, find what was going to let the string out in my kite, which leads me to present day time, where, even back then, I always wanted to have a center. I always thought, where could I have a place that people could come and be loved and be able to express themselves, or find a way to dig deep within their heart. And now I have a place in Peru, and right in the middle of the Sacred Valley, between two beautiful mountains. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing to be able to, finally get to this place. And, even more amazing that I'm actually I am moving on the 30th of June to another country to live out this crazy dream of mine.
Your whole face just lit up saying that.
Yeah. Well, because it's amazing to me. When I was on the property, the village that I'm next to is little. I mean, it's a village. It's not a town. It's a village that's mixed between the modern day Peruvians and the Quiro that live up in the mountains and come down to sell their goods, And I know a lot of them because I've been going there for 10 years, 10, 12 years. So, they're friends, and they're so excited about me being local, and they're so excited about helping me, and they're so excited about, the opportunity that my travelers bring them, financially. So it's a beautiful thing.
That's amazing. You said the magic word in there about passion. So let me ask you, when you think of that word passion, what does it mean to you? And how do you define it?
Well, passion to me is an interesting thing, because I've often taught that the thing that we don't want to do the most is what we should be doing. That is our passion. Because if I go to a baseball game, and I really want to go to this baseball game, and I get to the baseball game and there's no ticket, it's no big deal. But if I try my passion, if I go after what makes me let out the string in my kite, and I fail, it's devastating. And so rather than experience devastation, people never follow their passion because they're too scared. Whether it's, helping people or being a president or whatever it may be, I've always felt that people's passions are the things that they don't follow rather than they do follow. Then there's some of us that finally get past that and realize that failure is a part of life. And when we embrace it and not make our passion, in other words, if I have a passion for teaching people, I have a passion for spirituality and mindfulness, and I'm clear. I mean, I don't have to think about, well, what if it doesn't work? Then it doesn't work. But I don't have to go to my grave, believe it, not making the effort. I don't have to go, what if, or wonder if, because a lot of people dream about their passion. They never act on it. They just dream about it. Oh, someday. Oh, I wish I could do this. And then life gets in the way. And now I got a wife, I got kids, I got a house, I got a mortgage, and then it just piles on. And then that passion gets buried deep down inside. And I think that the human tragedy is that when we get it later in life, when we get older, we begin to realize that all those things were an illusion just to stop us from really living our truth. I think passion is living your truth. What is your truth? What is my truth? And how do I live that truth? Because the passion is the fuel that feeds that truth, that gives me the willingness to pick up and sell everything I own and go to another country when my son's here, my family's here, and say, I'm sorry, I have to go. I have to do this. I've always been that way. I've always been like, I got to do this. My life is so rich and so full of experiences because I didn't let things get in the way. Even when family was going, you're crazy. Why do you do that? Well, because that's how I live. That's what feeds me. That's what feeds my energy and my love for life. And if I ever quit doing that, I might as well get buried, because then it won't work anymore. Life won't work anymore. So passion is a fuel. For me, it's a fuel. It's the fuel that lights up my dreams. It's the fuel that comforts me when I feel like I'm scared and I don't know what I'm doing. I've never run a center that big. It's huge. And yet my passion is deep enough that it's going, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And the creator and source and the universe is not going to let you fail if you listen. If you listen, right?
That's a beautiful thing. In exploring this whole topic of passion, the thing that came across really clear for me is that passion is our joy.
Yeah.
Happen to the joy, that's how we know what
Right.
passion is, because they're tied together. So for people who are struggling, who say, man, I really wish I could do this, but they let all these things get in the way of that, what would you advise someone in that position where they clearly know that, this is my passion, this is what I wish I could do? Then they have this long list of buts.
Yeah. Well, I think we all have those. And I always say to people, because I've had the experience of this happening, is if someone told you, and many people right now are being told this, that they have a week to live, what would you do different? What would you do different? Because I know for a fact that if they were to tell us or tell me, you have a week or a year where you have a definite time frame, you would not do what you're doing right now. You'd stop and change. And so how is that any different? Because we don't know. That's the one thing, Karen, that I don't know. I don't know when my life is over. And so for me, I want to live out loud every day, because I don't know when life is over. I don't know when I'm not going to be able to be at 10,000 feet in the mountains. I don't know when the universe just says it's time for you to slow down. And so I live every day like maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. And embracing that. I was just sharing with, I told my son the other day, I have a 17-year-old graduating from high school. And I said, son, I know your dad's kind of crazy and he goes off the mountains. And, next month I'm actually in Bhutan in the Himalayas. And I said, I don't know. I can't guarantee you I'll come back. I really can't. What I can tell you is if something should happen, know this, that your dad is good. He's good with life, and he's made peace with life, and he's made peace with death. And know that your dad's living his life the way he wants to live it, and he's happy. And that's the way that I want to live. And so we are going to have the buts, but this, but that, but that, but this. But I always measure that up against, but what if they told me I only had a week to live? What would I do different? And I encourage people, then live that way, because you really don't know. You can get in a car and go out on a freeway and someone in a heartbeat. So if we live that way, then we might be able to find the courage, you know, to do something different. I mean, the thing that bothers me about people, it doesn't bother me, that I think is sad, is that, you know, they live in quiet desperation, miserable, just miserable. And for what? Or we spend our life accumulating wealth only to turn around and use it to have to buy our health because we don't have it. Or we spend a lifetime building and buying and whatever, only to realize that there's no time left for our loved ones. And what a tragedy that is. You know, and it's so hard when we live in a country that's so materialistic and so driven on consumerism, that it's so hard. I mean, even I find myself like, where was I? Oh, I was up in the mountains teaching this weekend, and I wanted to go to the little village and walk around, and I had to keep telling myself, Daniel, you quit. You can't buy nothing. You're moving. You're already selling everything you have. You don't need to buy anything. But we're so ingrained in us to want to buy something, you know. Well, I just want a little memento. And what are you going to do with it? You know, what are you going to do with it? You don't need it. So everybody has these.
So we kind of like buy our lives away.
Yeah, yeah.
So with every little purchase that we buy, we, you know, lose a little bit of our life.
Yeah.
We put our energy towards the thing instead of the experience.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, you know, I love what you just said, because it is about experience. Like I'd trade everything I own for experiences, because experiences will always stay in my memories. The stuff, it comes and goes. The big TV or the car, it's just stuff. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't give you any more status than you think you have. And yet we struggle with that. I mean, most of the people that come to Peru with me, you know, they open their eyes and they realize, wow, I feel like I've been trapped all my life, you know, and it's true. Most people do live that way. They live trapped, you know, and what's the trap? The buts, but this, or I'll wait, you know. So, you know, I would encourage people to challenge those buts. Challenge them. Are they real? Are they real? Probably not. As a matter of fact, they're not. Nothing is most things in our life are an illusion of our fear that keeps us, you know, like this. I can't tell you how many times I've quit things that I thought, well, you know, where I was making tons of money, but it was just like, well, that's not it either. So now I'm going to live in a third world country where we don't have the luxuries of life. You know, there's no central heating, no central air. There's no guaranteed water when you turn on the faucet. There's no guaranteed electricity, but life is simple and beautiful, and everyone operates from community and love, and that's something that transcends everything. It transcends everything. And I think that's what we're all searching for, is community, right? And where we find that is where we pursue our passion. Everybody's community is different.
That leads me to a question for mindfulness, because that's what you're known for, is the practice of mindfulness, and you bring people deeper into understanding themselves.
Right.
How does the practice of mindfulness lead to unwrapping your passion?
I think for me, mindfulness, my search in the Himalayas with the monks and with the Sanskrit priest of the coffee plantations of Kathmandu to the Amazon jungle and all the way up to the Andes, I think led me to a place where I could be still. Learning to recognize that in that stillness and that ability for me to stay present allowed me to see what was real. Like all these buts we're talking about are an illusion of fear. And fear is not real. It's a self-inflicted process that we go into by either by going backwards in the past or going forward in the future, and prophesizing what might happen if we were to follow our passion. So mindfulness to me has been the practice of being able to stay still and blocking everything out, all the noise, all the chaos, and saying it's not real. Even if you got a stack of bills and no money in the bank, it's only temporary if you can keep yourself focused on what you should be doing in the moment, rather than getting caught up in the past or the future where you have no power. The only power that I know I have is in the present moment to change or shift or act. And when I do that, and that's what mindfulness has taught me, is that when I do that, for example, I was at the center in Peru last week, and, all of a sudden I'm like freaking out about, well, how do you buy 300 towels? How do you, little things that you don't think about, you got to have, like soap and, all these, right? And I got almost started to hyperventilate, going, oh my God, how do you do that? I don't have to worry about that. Not right now. Not right now in this moment. Not in this moment right here. I don't have to do that. Right? And so because they're scared. They're fearful. Frozen.
Let's go back to the okay, yeah. Technical glitch.
It's all right.
You were panicking for a minute about how to get all of the things that you needed for your place down in Peru. And that's where I lost you. So how do you deal, like when we're dealing with our deepest anxieties and our deepest fears, and they're always there, how do we move past that?
Well,
mindfulness. Yeah. I know we need to get very still, but when we're very still and all.
You're kind of frozen right now, so I'm waiting. I don't know what our technologies. Yeah. Yeah, give it a minute. Yeah. Let it catch up. Yeah. So you were asking what happens when we start to freak out, have the anxiety, the stress. For me.
So you're sitting there. You're trying very hard to be mindful. You're meditating. But the thoughts are continually coming in. The anxiety level is at a high level. Your worries at a very high level. How do you get from that level to that place of inner peace?
I teach people that there's different ways to do that. The easiest way is quit holding your breath. Breathe. Most people hold their breath, and it builds that anxiety up in their body. They can feel it. They can feel like a barometer just going up. We just need to breathe. And know that in this moment, everything's okay. Everything is okay. You're going to be all right, right? And even me freaking out about the towels, it'll get handled. I have plenty of time. Everything's good. Well, only thing that's causing this anxiety, which I call self-inflicted stress or anxiety, is me, because I'm getting so far ahead in the future where I have no power. I can't change the future right now. I can change the future by acting in the now. I can't change the past, but I can stay present. And when I stay present, then I can do the things I need to do to make sure, like, why don't you call the lady and ask her how you buy 300 towels? She knows. You don't have to know. You just got to ask and fix that, so you're not worried about that. And so I think that the best thing people can do is recognize that right now they're okay. It's not the future. It's the now. But if you stay stuck in that space, I'm clear that life won't be good, because we'll absolutely manifest that which we're thinking about. I always say your most dominant thought's always being brought into existence. So what is your most dominant thought? If your most dominant thought is fear, then fear will show up. And so we have to think about that. So what do I want my most dominant thought to be? Peace and prosperity and love. And I'm going to stay there and believe with faith that all those things are going to work out. And they do. What's the worst thing that can happen? I'll tell everybody to bring a towel. I don't have any. Next.
Well, the water could not work.
A lot of things could happen.
But true, and there's always those challenges. And in fact, the root meaning of the word passion is the willingness to suffer.
Yeah.
Do you willingly suffer for that dream of having that retreat place, that safe place for people to come to?
Yeah.
So when you think of that word success, what does that mean to you? And how do you define success? Because for so many of us, so many of the books out there, so much of what we're driven by is the word success.
Well, it's interesting you asked that because 6 years ago, my journey, I was in New York City in a posh membership-only restaurant with famous people around me in my $1,500 custom-made suit. Just full of myself, actually, just really thinking I have reached the pinnacle of success. Look at me. I'm president of an organization in New York City. I'm an advisor to the Department of White House Personnel for President Obama. My speaking career was getting me paid up to $25,000 an hour. I mean, I was at what I would call the pinnacle of success. And in a second, I heard a voice say, "Who are you? And what values did you sell to get where you're at?" And I freaked out. I was like, "What?" And I know that voice came from that little boy at 17 who was a licensed Baptist minister, and saying, "What happened to that kid?" And I was devastated for a moment. And so I realized in that moment, so success is defined by every individual. In that moment, by all practical purposes, people would say, "Well, that's success. You're living the life." But in a second, it changed. And I realized that success no longer meant the things that I had on my person, my body, my clothes, the place I was eating. It changed for me. And that's when I made the quest to travel around the world and ask these monks and these priests and these shamans and these teachers and these maestros and these pacos, what is the meaning of life? What is truly life about? And how can I find this level of peace and tranquility in my life that still allows me to be monetarily successful, but not from greed and hate and stepping on people and being rude. And so success to me, I think is living a life of peace and tranquility. It's living a life of following my passions without fear. It's about saying yes to life more than no. I have gotten so accustomed to say no to everything, and you can only say no so many times and the universe won't respond anymore. People go away. And so I started saying yes, yes, yes. That's why the book that just came out, Radical Mindfulness, was written to let people know, what? I'm not saying follow what I say or what I do. I'm just saying that I was at the pinnacle of what most people in this country would call success. And I walked away from it all to see if there was something else to see. And I don't know that I would have bought this center had I not been in the space that I'm in, because I'd been too fearful that I wouldn't have the money or that I wouldn't be able to make it, or, I'm in a third world country. I don't know how they work. I don't know how much blah, 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 And so success today to me is staying present, enjoying life. I mean, noticing the trees outside and hearing the birds, being so grounded that I'm experiencing life, not life experiencing me.
That's beautiful. Because I think that's I don't know, a testament to your life, recognizing that the material things don't necessarily bring the happiness within.
No.
But it's finding that life path that's true to you, that lines up with your values, and seeing life in a whole new way.
Right.
Really, yeah.
Well, it's almost like being reborn. It's like being reborn again and really recognizing that for the next half of my life, I don't have to live it the way I lived it the first half, you know, and not making the first half wrong. It made me who I am today. I mean, I have great business acumen because I experienced these wonderful things. And now I can take that experience along with my deep desire to really bring love into the world and do something good for people by creating a space that people can come and when they need to. And it's not public. It's not a public place. It's private. You won't be able to book a room. You'll have to call me. You know, so it's one of those things where I really clearly get that I'm not interested in a hotel. I don't want to be responsible for people I don't know. What I want to be is create a place where teachers can come and teach their students and experience the beauty of Peru and experience the beauty of Machu Picchu along the way. Because that's what opens people's hearts. So they can see their passion. Most people can't see their passion because they have their hearts closed.
Because their eyes are closed. Wow, that's a beautiful quote. Most people can't see passion because their eyes are closed.
Yeah.
Good one. So, when you think about the days ahead of you, what's the big dream? What's this in front of you that you're hoping to accomplish?
Well, I think that, I mean, the center's a big deal for me. I mean, July, you know, coming up here soon, I'll be taking my first group. I've been taking groups to Peru for a long time, but never to my center. We stayed in hotels. It made it easy, right? We just stayed in hotels but now they get to come and have a different experience of being in the land, actually on the land and in the land. And so for me right now, the only thing I'm staying focused on is, you know, bringing people to the center and watching it grow and to whatever it's going to be. I don't have any expectation that it's going to be anything wonderful or not. And I have no expectation as to the length of time that it's going to be open. I just want to go there and say, hey, here we are.
Here you are. And
yeah.
It is what it is.
Right.
And what it shall be.
Well, and I think that's what mindfulness has taught me is just be on the journey, your journey. Be on your journey, not mine, your journey, whatever that may mean. Be on that journey. And when we do that, we do start to realize that living our passions is good for our health. It's good for our prosperity. It's good for our well-being. It's good for our relationships because people want to be around people who are living their joy and living their passion.
I love that. To wrap this up, do you have a favorite quote that you live by?
Wow, there's a bunch of them.
Comes to mind. What's the first one that comes into your mind?
Henry David Thoreau once said that if people would only stay committed, and this is paraphrased, if they could stay focused on their dreams and their passions and not give up before the magic happened, they would meet with success beyond their wildest dreams. But most people quit the day before the magic happened. And I think that's what drives me, Karen, is that every day I keep thinking, shit, what if it's today? I can't quit today, because what if it's today? What if that is today the day? And if I quit, then I would have never seen it. And that's what he was saying, is that most people quit before they ever saw the magic show up. And that's paraphrased, but I love that, because every day I wake up thinking it might be today, and what happens if I quit today? So I can't. And that drives me every day, every day.
That's beautiful. Wow, thank you so much for sharing today. I really, really, really appreciate it. I learned a lot today.
Thank you.
It was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, and thank you for interviewing me.
I wish you lots of peace and joy in the new place.
Thank you.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I'll be sending pictures and talking, and maybe doing more video because I want to connect with people, right? So anyway, that's what Zoom's good for.
That's awesome. Send me the information. I'd be happy to share that with people.
Thank you. It'll be coming out soon.
It'll be a magical place.
Thank you. Okay. Take care, sweetie.
Okay. All right. Bye. Thank you, Daniel.
Bye.
All right. Bye for now.
All right.